Well, let me give you my reading, 2 pages, actually a page and a half, 2.3 minutes, as to how I see Malcolm. I call this Malcom X, Pilgrim in Search of a Common Humanity. When the man known as Malcom X was assassinated on 21 February 1965, a physically young yet spiritually complete life was brought to an all too early abrupt end. In his brief 39 eventful years, Malcolm had achieved a degree of wholeness in his life that few humans of any age are fortunate enough to experience. He was a man who had confronted and transcended 3 major rites of passage. A rite which led from his ego, through his ethnic, and into a global sense of his wider human potential. He had obtained a pan-human state of political spiritual growth. Malcolm X stated during his last days that he had come to champion that which is good for humanity as a whole. The 3 rights. As a young street hustler, Malcolm Little had been concerned primarily about the satisfaction of his personal carnal pleasures, his ego needs and desires. After his prison sentencing of 10 years for petty criminal activity, he was forced to reflect upon the quality of his life. He joined the Nation of Islam under the leadership of Elijah Muhammad. And upon his release from prison, as a reward for his superb organizing and speaking abilities, Mr. Muhammad appointed Malcolm to the post of national minister. And from this involvement, Malcolm developed a deeper sense of his ethnic responsibility to teach and awaken the so-called brainwashed black masses. Malcolm X helped Black America to see and analyze their plight in historical and international perspective. Finally, in the wake of his ouster from the nation, acceptance of Orthodox Islam, he was a Sunni, and conversion experience in Mecca, Malcolm was forced into an encounter with his wider global self. He toured several African and Middle Eastern countries, often as the personal guest of prime ministers and presidents. This series of mind-expanding encounters convinced Malcolm that American white racism was not genetically determined, as he had formerly believed, but rather socially constructed. The significance of this discovery was that he came to see that radical socio-political, i.e. structural change within American society could cure it of its 300-year-old racist tradition. His writing and speeches provided a record of the growth and development of a constantly evolving mind. The autobiography of Malcolm X is now an American culture classic. It documents a life of struggle, change, and triumph. Thus, it is not a tragedy, but rather a living testament of hope. Now, after almost a half-century following his death, his words serve as a stimulus for new thought. It is a rich legacy for the rest of us to explore through history, film, anthropology, literature, visual arts, poetry, music, dance, theater, courses and seminars in a variety of settings, American studies, public humanities at its best. This is what it is for me at any rate. Over the past 30-plus years, I have spoken his words and analyzed his life with audiences from Texas to Tanzania, from South Dakota to South Africa, and from Old England to New England. There is an African saying which asserts, "To speak a dead man's name and words is to make him live again." I speak thus X lives. Enough said. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.